Hi there. In this video, we're going to talk about expressions with more than one operation. All right, so remember that our operations, we talk about adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. All right, we're going to talk about, introduce another operation, which is an exponent. All right, that's the first thing we'll talk about. And then, at this point in the next couple sections, we'll introduce parentheses. All right, so exponents and then parentheses to show what that means. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is this thing called order of operations. Now, order of operations is this thing that we refer to as PEMDAS, and it's the order in which we operate. All right, so the first thing we always want to look at is parentheses. All right, and we'll talk about that more in the next couple of sections. But then we want to do exponents first. All right, after that, then we do multiplication and division, and then we add or subtract. Okay, and within multiplication and addition and subtraction, you go from left to right. All right. And so we'll do a bunch of examples and show you what I mean by that. All right. Now to remember PEMDAS, all right, that's please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. All right. And that's just when you write out PEMDAS on your paper, it should remind you on the order in which you do things. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about are exponents. All right. So exponents is the little number that is up and to the right of a big number. All right, so my example for this would be, say, like, let's say 3 to the second power. This number here is my exponent, all right? And the 3 here is this thing that we call the base, all right? And so what this is an exponent tells me how many times I multiplied the base by itself. All right, so in this case, what I would write is I would say that I'm taking 3 and multiplying it by itself 2 times. So 3 times 3, which would end up giving me 9. Okay, let's look at another example, and let's say like the number 2 to the 5th power. Okay, 2 to the 5th power means that I'm going to multiply 2 by itself 5 times. All right, so I've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. So here, let me go down this. So I've got 4. Keep multiplying these numbers. 4 times 2 is 8. Multiply by 2 again. 8 times 2 is 16. Times 2 again, that's going to give me a whole thing of 32. All right, so, and that's how we do that, all right? So I wanted to make sure that we at least talk about exponents first before we just simply jump in and do a bunch of problems. Now, the first example, what I want to do is take an expression that we see, all right, and turn it out and write it out into words, okay? So in this, what you say is 3 times some number x minus 5, all right? And that's how I read it. But if we wanted to actually write this out, we would say something like this. And we would say 5 less than the product of 3 and a number. Okay? And what you don't want to say, you could say like the difference between the product of 3 and a number and 5, okay, but that's kind of really wordy. So you could say that. But as I write that out, the difference of the product of 3 and a number and 5, that doesn't really read very well. Okay, we want to make this a little bit shorter and concise, and we would want to say 5 less than the product of 3 and a number. All right, let's look at another example. And so on this one, it says, same thing, write out the following expression in words. So I have x divided by 4 and then add 2. All right, and you could certainly read it like that, but if I want to be formal about this and write it as a mathematical phrase, then I would say this. I would say the sum of 2 and the quotient of a number and 4. All right? And what I'm really doing here is just trying to put this into a little bit more of a formal sense using the words sum, difference, product, quotient, all right? Those kinds of things, all right? So let's look at another example. So on this, it's asking, write an expression for the sum of 5 and the product of 3 and a number. Ugh. So the sum of 5, all right, so what I look at is I look at this phrase here. The sum of 5 means I'm going to be adding 5 to this. The product of 3 and a number means I'm going to be multiplying 3 times some number, all right, and then adding 5 to that. All right, so it's really important that we're able to look at something like this, read it, and then write out that expression in math terms. Okay, on the last example, what we want to do is evaluate the following expressions for when m is equal to 2. And again, what I want to do, this is the same thing as the last one, but we're adding in some more steps, okay? So I want to substitute 2 into each of my expressions below. And so what I'm going to do in the first one is I'm going to replace m with what it's equal to, all right? So I'm going to write this out as 3 times m, but let's plug in 2 for m, and then subtract 1. Now, when I do this, I want to do my order of operations. I want to multiply or divide first, and then do add or subtract, okay? So when I multiply, I've got 3 times 2, so that's going to give me a value of 6 minus 1, which is then 5, okay? When I plug it in over here and do 6 over m, all right, let's plug in 2 for m. So I've got 6 divided by 2, and then plus 7. So now what I want to do is I want to do division first. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So 3 plus 7 then gives you 10, and that's my answer. On the last one, this one's a little confusing. And what I want to do is substitute 2 in for m here. Now when I do this, I'm going to write 2, then I'm going to do parentheses 2, because I plug in 2 for m, and then I'm going to square that, and then add 4. So remember my order of operations. I want to do exponents first. So I want to raise 2 to the second power, which means I'm going to do 2 times 2, which is 4. So initially I've got 2, and then I multiply that then by, after I do my exponents, which is going to be 4, and then plus 4. Now I want to do my multiplication, so I'm going to do 2 times 4, which is going to give me 8, and then plus 4, do the addition, which then gives me 12. All right, and so that's what I want to do. All right, so again, we have expressions. We plug in the number into that expression, replace the variable with what the number is, and then we have to just do the math. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.